Find out who's telling the truth. Hey everybody, Uncle Rich here for Who's Telling the Truth. But it seems like a long time. It's been almost 3 weeks since our last show, and you're looking at my new computer, guys. It's a long story, and we'll get to it. But today is show 104, and today's date is August 10th, 2015, and the name of the show is Cite Your Source. Now, anybody who's been following this show knows that one of the most often used phrases that I use on this show is, be specific and name your source. I mean, every show, be specific and name your source. Well, guys, tonight we're going to take it to the next level. Tonight we're going to use the Lawrence Krauss approach. That's right. We're gonna use the educated approach just to show people that we've done our homework, we got our facts together, and we know what we're doing. And guys, what brought this on was I watched Marty's show, and I want to give a shout out to my buddy Marty Heiser. I'm telling you, Marty, this is going to be the last time I'm going to be nice to you. Because if this show doesn't teach you a lesson, you're unteachable, and maybe we should just kind of send you out to pasture. You and your buddy Dave, because the show is going to consist of 2 parts. We're going to show the stuff with Planned Parenthood that you got so completely wrong, and then we're going to talk about Iran, I got to say one thing to Dave Straight. Dave Straight said, follow the money. And guys, tonight we're going to show you beyond the shadow of a doubt what happens when diplomacy works. And when you see how the price of oil has fallen off a cliff, and then you'll say to yourself, now I'm starting to, so you mean if there's no war, there's no uncertainty, the price of oil drops? That's right, guys. It's called diplomacy, and it works. We don't have to send our kids over there so they can become head cases. We don't have to fight for oil. We've got more renewable stuff here. But guys, tonight, that's what we want to do. It's called learning. And we want to learn people so that they don't make buffoons out of themselves like Marty has done. And guys, you know me. I mean, if Marty's show would have been on YouTube, I would have edited the video exactly to the point that we wanted to hear. And what happened is I called into Marty's show, and Dave Straight was there, and they were showing these inflammatory videos on Planned Parenthood. The kind of videos that make people see red. And what happened is Marty showed these videos, and to any normal human being, when you watch these videos, you want to hurt somebody. But when you realize how the videos were deceptively made, you're going to go, wait a minute. Somebody needs a lesson here, because I'll tell you, this stuff is evil. And what happened is I called up Marty's show, and I said to him, Marty, what is the source of this video that you're showing? And Marty defiantly stuck his chest out, took a deep breath, and he said, Rich, the source? You don't know what the source of the video is? The source is Planned Parenthood. What's wrong with you? And I said, what's wrong with me? I said, Marty, you don't even know what a source is. The expose is being done on Planned Parenthood. Do you think they would make their own video to expose their organization? But guys, this is how these conservatives think. I mean, they're not playing with a full deck. And what happens? Rather than inform you, they want to inflame you. And what could really get people going more than abortions? Nothing. Nothing. And in some of the videos we're going to show you tonight, especially from Fox, you know, Greg Gutfeld on Fox associated Planned Parenthood with slavery. You got to be kidding me. But guys, you know, we like to have fun in the beginning of the show. And we're going to start with a Foxstitute, Todd Starnes, and we're going to do a short clip. And guys, I want you to listen on how he thinks conservatives should be coddled. So Judy, let's have video 1, please.
But I would like to leave you with this one very important thought. I want you to know something. You have a friend at the Fox News corner of the world. Conservatives have a friend. And we friends stick together. I'm Todd Starnes. Thanks for watching.
Friend at Fox. Isn't that nice? It doesn't matter if you can't catch a ball or throw a pass, or if you're the biggest klutz that ever walked the face of the earth, and if you're one of the simple folks that doesn't understand science, you got a friend at Fox. Really. And this is what happens. But you know what? We have some friends too. And one of our dearest friends, who isn't with us anymore, we're going to do a short little clip on him. So Judy, let's have clip number 3 now. We want to straighten them out. We'll straighten out the conservatives.
Boy, these conservatives are really something, aren't they? They're all in favor of the unborn. They will do anything for the unborn. But once you're born, you're on your own. Have to kill it. They're not pro-life. You know what they are? They're anti-woman. Simple as it gets. Anti-woman. They don't like them. They don't like women.
Guys, what else could it be? I mean, what else could it be? And tonight, on tonight's show, we're going to show you what a menagerie of buffoonery Fox has created over Planned Parenthood. Why? I don't know why. Why do they hate women? I don't know why they do what they do. And I want to tell you, if you guys paid attention to the debate, Mamma mia, I'm telling you, this is better than Saturday Night Live. These guys are a joke. But now we're going to play the full clips from both Todd Starnes. We're going to do his clip first, and then we're going to do George Carlin. And it's on the debate and abortion, and we're going to start to make opinions, but then we're going to show you some facts. So Judy, let's have video number 2 now.
Hello, I'm Todd Starnes. How about that debate last night? I was sort of hoping for a mixed martial arts cage-style debate, but the boss is not too keen on that idea. Anyway, the political pundits and the chattering class are sorting out the winners and the losers, but to be honest, I value the opinions of our viewers and listeners more than the pundits, and thousands of you chose your winners and losers last night on my Facebook page. There were indeed lots of pressing issues raised last night, like whether Scott Walker would really let a mother die rather than have an abortion, or whether Donald Trump is a misogynist, or whether John Kasich would love his daughters if they were gay. Now, I don't want to rehash all the stuff that was hashed last night, but I would like to leave you with this one very important thought. I want you to know something. You have a friend at the Fox News corner of the world. Conservatives have a friend. And we friends stick together. I'm Todd Starnes. Thanks for watching.
Guys, that's what it is. Conservatives stick together. Marty lies, and Mr. Straight swears to it. And you think they would want to go online and look up global warming? And as a matter of fact, did you notice that, guys, in the debate? Not one question about global warming. Why? Because global warming is real. Global warming represents reality. The conservatives don't live in reality. They live in a fantasy world. And you see what happens. You know, I mean, you see what's going on. But guys, tonight, you know, we're not gonna let up. Tonight we're gonna have a lot of fun, and who better to have fun with than George Carlin? So Judy, let's have clip number 4.
Boy, these conservatives are really something, aren't they? They're all in favor of the unborn. They will do anything for the unborn. But once you're born, you're on your own. Pro-life conservatives are obsessed with the
Doing good,
fetus
right?
from conception to 9 months. After that, they don't want to know about you. They don't want to hear from you. No, nothing. No neonatal care, no daycare, no Head Start, no school lunch, no food stamps, no welfare, no nothing. If you're pre-born, you're fine. Conservatives don't give a shit about you until you reach military age. Then they think you are just fine, just what they've been looking for. Conservatives want live babies so they can raise them to be dead soldiers. Pro-life. Pro-life. These people aren't pro-life, they're killing doctors. What kind of pro-life is that? What, they'll do anything they can to save a fetus, but if it grows up to be a doctor, they just might have to kill it? They're not pro-life. You know what they are? They're anti-woman. Simple as it gets. Anti-woman. They don't like them. They don't like women. They believe a woman's primary role is to function as a broodmare for the state. Pro-life. You don't see many of these white anti-abortion women volunteering to have any black fetuses transplanted into their uteruses, do you? No, you don't see them adopting a whole lot of crack babies, do you? No, that might be something Christ would do. Air in your belly. Here's another question I have. How come when it's us, it's an abortion, and when it's a chicken, it's an omelet? Are we so much better than chickens all of a sudden? When did this happen, that we passed chickens in goodness? Name 6 ways we're better than chickens. See, nobody can do it. You know why? Because chickens are decent people. You don't see chickens hanging around in drug gangs, do you? You don't see a chicken strapping some guy to a chair and hooking up his nuts to a car battery, do you? When's the last chicken you heard about came home from work and beat the shit out of his hand, huh? Doesn't happen, because chickens are decent people. Well, let's get back to this abortion shit. Now, is a fetus a human being? This seems to be the central question. Well, if a fetus is a human being, how come the census doesn't count them? If a fetus is a human being, how come when there's a miscarriage they don't have a funeral? If a fetus is a human being, how come people say we have 2 children and 1 on the way instead of saying we have 3 children? People say life begins at conception. I say life began about 1 billion years ago, and it's a continuous process. Continuous, just keeps rolling along. Rolling along. I say, you know something? Listen, you can go back further than that. What about the carbon atoms? Huh? Human life could not exist without carbon. So is it just possible that maybe we shouldn't be burning all this coal? Just looking for a little consistency here in these anti-abortion arguments. See, the really hardcore people will tell you life begins at fertilization. Fertilization when the sperm fertilizes the egg, which is usually a few moments after the man says, gee, honey, I was going to pull out, but the phone rang and it startled me. But even after the egg is fertilized, it's still 6 or 7 days before it reaches the uterus and pregnancy begins. And not every egg makes it that far. 80% of a woman's fertilized eggs are rinsed and flushed out of her body once a month during those delightful few days she has. They wind up on sanitary napkins, and yet they are fertilized eggs. So basically what these anti-abortion people are telling us is that any woman who's had more than 1 period is a serial killer. Consistency. Consistency. Hey, if they really want to get serious, what about all the sperm that are wasted when the state executes a condemned man and one of these pro-life guys who's watching comes in his pants, huh? Here's a guy standing over there with his jockey shorts full of little Vinnies and Debbies, and nobody's saying a word to the guy. Not every ejaculation deserves a name. Now, speaking of consistency, Catholics, which I was until I reached the age of reason, Catholics and other Christians are against abortions, and they're against homosexuals. Well, who has less to believe these fucking people alone, for Christ's sakes? Here is an entire class of people guaranteed never to have an abortion. And the Catholics and Christians are just tossing them aside. You'd think...
All right, Judy, if you can come back to me. Man, speaking of abortions, the way I edited that video, that was an abortion. And guys, I'm sorry. I mean, I really tried hard, but I mean, I got a new computer. Guys, it's such a long story, but I want to tell you, I have to say thank you to William, because without William, none of this could be possible. I mean, we went through such aggravation, and we finally got everything settled. And, I had brought down a thumb drive down here to make sure that we downloaded everything and everything was working. And I brought the thumb drive home, and I don't remember where I put it, but I had to go back out again to see William. And when I came back home, guess what was on the floor in my house? Guys, this is my old thumb drive that the dog decided to make into lunch. And I'm saying to myself, you gotta be kidding me. But anyway, we got everything done. The videos work. I'm so glad to be back. I want to thank William. And I want to say hi to all my friends on Facebook, And tonight we're going to get to the meat of the matter. We're going to show you a clip. We're going to show you the Uncle Joey version of why we cite our sources. And the reason why I say it's the Uncle Joey version, Uncle Joey's one of my T-Billy Tejadas up in Catskill, New York. But anyway, he's got his Facebook page is Things to Ponder. So if you ever want to have some fun, you can go on his Facebook page. But the next clip is a cartoon on why we cite our sources. So Marty, I hope you're sitting down. I hope you bring your family to the TV. Let's all learn together so that you can stop making a buffoon out of yourself on national TV. So Judy, let's have clip number 5.
This is Jack, and this is Diane. Jack and Diane are being forced by a professor to do the unthinkable. Write a research paper. Diane goes back to her dorm and is going to start right away, but decides to have a snack first. And a nap. And oh, would you look at the time, she has to meet Ginny to go do that thing in Lexington. Uh-oh, that paper's due tomorrow and Diane hasn't started yet. Looks like someone has a long night ahead of her. But wait! Diane does a quick web search on her research topic, copies a few paragraphs from the first site she finds, and voila! That paper practically wrote itself. Sleep well, Diane. What? Diane failed? I don't think anyone saw that coming. But look here! Jack seems to have done just fine. What did he do differently? Well, you can bet Diane's wondering the same thing. Let's take a look back at what Jack's been up to. Ah, there he is now walking into the library. Maybe he'll find a really nice lady to talk to.
Hey, I've been given a research paper to do and it seems like a lot of work. I just don't really see why I have to go through so much trouble to log every single source I find and stuff like that. Can you help?
I sure can. Citing sources may seem like a tedious process, but its benefits are vast. We live on a very large planet, and scattered all across that planet are scientists, scholars, and researchers just like you. Now let's say you want to look into cigarette smoking research, specifically the effects of cigarette smoking. You may see that a scientist in India did 10 years worth of experiments on the effects of cigarette smoking on human blood cell count. He may submit his findings to academic journals where it will become available to the entire world. Now, if you want to do a research paper on some of the effects of cigarette smoking, you won't have to take 10 years to come up with an answer. One has been provided for you through another scientist's work. And since he just saved you 10 years in lab research, don't you think it's worth mentioning him in your paper?
So I guess you could say that citing my sources is a way of publicly saying thank you to the scholars that have saved me time and helped me find the answers I'm looking for.
Absolutely. By citing the researcher in India, you not only gave him his due credit, but you are also helping anyone who reads your research to connect with him and what he accomplished. It also proves that you're not just making claims that haven't been tested. You can better argue your point by sharing what the research found.
So my professor isn't just trying to make things harder by making me cite? It's for the sake of my own academic reputation?
Sounds like you've got this.
I'm gonna go start my research now.
If there's anything else you need, don't hesitate to ask.
Guys, it's what he said. It's a matter of your own academic reputation. If you get something wrong and you tell other people, that's shameful. And I hope, and Marty, I hope that you're not telling people the wrong thing because you're trying to trick them. I hope that you've been fooled yourself. I hope that you're not devious enough where you want to trick other people and deceive them to think the same way that you do. Now, you know, one thing I've said many, many times on this show, you know, aside from be specific and cite your source, you know, the other thing especially when it comes to global warming, what we want to do is we want to get our information from climate scientists who are publishing peer-reviewed journals and studies. Guys, this is so important. And that's why we use sources like NASA and NOAA and the National Academy of Sciences, the most prestigious university in the world. And this is where we get our information from and our data from. And you know, nobody's trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes. When it comes to the data is concise. But the next clip, we're going to show you why we cite our sources. So Judy, let's have clip number 5.
What year it is? Did you fall down, hit your head, and think you woke up in the
Judy, wrong one.
1950s?
Wasn't it? We want number 6, Judy.
Did you fall down?
Judy, we're looking for number 6. I'm sorry. Video number 6.
Have you ever wondered why or when you need to cite sources in your papers? This video will help answer your citation questions. It's important to cite properly in your papers in order to give credit to the people whose ideas you're using, avoid plagiarism, give your work credibility, and maintain academic integrity. You must cite the source for any idea you use in your assignment which is not your own. This includes quoting something word for word, paraphrasing someone else's writing, or taking an idea from another source. You do not need to cite facts that are common knowledge, such as the sky is blue. No matter where you get your information from, books, course lectures, blogs, images, graphs, or the web, you always need to cite. If you're ever in doubt, remember that it's better to overcite than to undercite. Citations always have 2 parts, an in-text citation and a list of citations at the end of your paper, which can be called a reference list, bibliography, or works cited. You need to have both parts in order to cite properly. The in-text citation is short. It shows what part of your paper came from another source and directs the reader to the complete citation for that specific source at the end of your paper. Each complete citation requires that you include enough information so that someone could find this source again, like the author name, title, year of publication, and publisher. Your prof may direct you to use APA, MLA, Chicago, Harvard, or another citation style. A citation style is just a specific way to format all this information consistently, which helps readers to understand the information. The difference between citation styles is how they format information. Differences like spacing, capitalization, order, and punctuation all matter. To find guides on the different citation styles, start from the library homepage at lib.uwaterloo.ca and click on the Online Reference Shelf link, which is 6th from the top in the right-hand menu. Click on the Citation Style Guides link and you'll be taken to a new page that lists the citation resources we have at the library. If you have any other questions about citations, just ask a librarian. We're happy to help.
Marty, it's all about being honest. It's all about telling the truth. That's why we do this show. It's really simple, you know? And I'm calling you out, and look, I'm making you look foolish, but I'm doing it for a reason, because you deserve it. Now, hopefully in the future, you'll stop the nonsense and you'll replace it with sense. And if anybody wants to challenge anything that I've said on this, you know, if Marty wants to put up the video, I'd be glad to show it on the next show. Because I'll tell you, I'm bitter about this, and the reason why I'm bitter is because there's no reason for it. You know, Marty, you're a smart guy, you're an intelligent man, and why you can't sit down like a gentleman and just Google, what does NASA have to say about global warming, and in 5 minutes, you'll stop being a denier. Your kids will thank you for it. Your pastor will thank. Aren't you Christians supposed to tell the truth all the time? You know, isn't this part of your thing here? You know? Tell you what gets me about, you know, people that believe in you know, people, invisible friends in the sky. They believe in things that don't exist, but they refuse to accept what's provable. They refuse to accept global warming, and this is what makes me crazy. And now we're going to really get into the meat of the matter with the Planned Parenthood, and we're going to show you Elizabeth Warren speaking on the floor of the Senate, insulting the conservative Republicans. And you know what? Not only do they deserve to be insulted, but she's having a good time doing it. So, Judy, let's have video number 7, and let's have some fun. Hit it.
And think you woke up in the 1950s or the 1890s?
Volume, Kurt.
Should we call for a doctor? Because I simply cannot believe that in the year 2015, the United States Senate would be spending its time trying to defund women's health care centers. You know, on second thought, maybe I shouldn't be that surprised. The Republicans have had a plan for years to strip away women's rights to make choices over our own bodies. Just look at the recent facts. In 2013, Republicans threatened to shut down the government unless they could change the law to let employers deny women access to birth control. In March of this year, Republicans held up a non-controversial bipartisan bill to stop human trafficking. Why? Because they demanded new anti-abortion restrictions to cover private funding meant to help the victims of human trafficking. In June, House Republicans passed a budget eliminating funding for the Title X Family Planning Program, the only federal grant program that provides birth control, HIV tests, STD screening, and other preventive services for poor and uninsured people. Over the past few years, Republicans have voted to repeal the Affordable Care Act more than 50 times, including the portions that require insurers to cover contraception. And let's be clear, it's not just Congress. Over the past 5 years, Republican state legislators have passed nearly 300 new restrictions on abortion access. This year alone, Republican state legislators have passed more than 50 new restrictions on women's access to legal health care. So, Madam President, let's be really clear about something. The Republican scheme to defund Planned Parenthood is not some sort of surprised response to a highly edited video. Nope, the Republican vote to defund Planned Parenthood is just one more piece of a deliberate, methodical, orchestrated right-wing attack on women's rights. And I'm sick and tired of it. Women everywhere are sick and tired of it. The American people are sick and tired of it. Scheduling this vote during the week of a big Fox News presidential primary debate, days before candidates take trips to Iowa or New Hampshire, isn't just some clever gimmick. This is an all-out effort to build support to take away a woman's right to control her own body and access to medical care she may need. Now, this affects all of us. Whatever your age, wherever you live, I guarantee that you know someone who has used Planned Parenthood health centers. No one may mention it at Thanksgiving dinner or post it on Facebook for the whole world to know, but just look at the facts. 1 in 5 women in America is a Planned Parenthood patient at least once in her life. Every single year, nearly 2.7 million women and men show up for help at Planned Parenthood. Why do so many people use Planned Parenthood? Because they're nonprofit and they're open. More than half of Planned Parenthood centers are located in areas without ready access to health care. You know, women who can't get appointments anywhere else go to Planned Parenthood for Pap tests and cancer screening. Couples go to Planned Parenthood for STD treatments or pregnancy tests. Young people go to Planned Parenthood for birth control. And yes, 3% of patients visit Planned Parenthood for a safe and legal abortion, with a doctor who will show compassion and care for a woman who is making one of the most difficult decisions of her entire life. But just to be clear, even though the abortions performed at Planned Parenthood are safe and legal, the federal government is not paying for any of them, not one dime. For almost 40 years, the federal government has prohibited federal funding for abortions, except in the case of rape, incest, or life endangerment. Most of the money Planned Parenthood receives from the government comes in the form of Medicaid patients for medical care provided to low-income patients, the same payments that any other doctor or clinic receives for providing cancer screenings or other medical exams. The rest of Planned Parenthood's federal funding comes from Title X that provides birth control to low-income and uninsured people, the same program the House Republicans voted to cut in June. The government doesn't fund abortions, period. A vote today to defund Planned Parenthood is not a vote to defund abortions. It's a vote to defund cancer screenings and birth control and basic health care for millions of women. I want to say to my Republican colleagues, the year is 2015. Not 1955 and not 1895. Women have lived through a world where backward-looking ideologues tried to interfere with the basic health decisions made by a woman and her doctor, and we are not going back. Not now, not ever. The Republican plan to defund Planned Parenthood is a Republican plan to defund women's health care. For my daughter, for my granddaughters, for people all across Massachusetts and all across this country, I stand with Planned Parenthood. and I hope my colleagues will do the same. Thank you, Madam President. I yield.
Guys, she put a world of hurt on him, didn't she? She dotted the I's and she crossed the T's. She laid her cards on the table. She asked a simple question. Why do the Republican conservative people hate women? Why? Well, you saw it. You saw the facts. You saw the figures. Now, what would get a woman to vote against her own interests? What could possibly make a woman hate Planned Parenthood? The way you do it, it's very simple. You don't inform the people, you inflame them. And watch how the five goes about, and watch Dana Perino. I mean, she's visibly upset over the abortions and watch how calm, cool, and collected Juan William is when he just tells everybody, when he tells the four conservatives, and don't forget this is Fox News, so it's fair and balanced. You got four conservatives against one liberal. That's their idea, fair and balanced. And that is because at least they have one liberal, which is pretty good for Fox because normally it's a stacked deck. You know, the table is tilted with Fox. So anyway, we're going to show you this clip from the five, and guys, it's so prevalent you can taste the hate. So Judy, disappoint us, will you?
The Senate failed to pass a bill to defund Planned Parenthood yesterday, setting the stage for a potential government shutdown this fall. Two Republican presidential candidates say they are for a shutdown if necessary.
If it comes down to closing the government down or funding Planned Parenthood, what should the Republicans in the Congress do?
I apologize for not answering your question. They should close the government down.
It's the only way to get rid of Planned Parenthood money for selling off baby parts is to shut the government down in September. Would you support that?
Well, I can tell you this, I would.
Planned Parenthood supporter Elizabeth Warren lashed out at Republicans before the vote.
I come to the Senate floor today to ask my Republican colleagues a question. Do you have any idea what year it is? Did you fall down, hit your head, and think you woke up in the 1950s or the 1890s? Should we call for a doctor? Because I simply cannot believe that in the year 2015, the United States Senate would be spending its time trying to defund women's health care centers.
Senator Warren calls them women's health care centers, but a new fifth undercover video shows the group is in the business of selling the body parts of aborted babies.
So if we alter our process and we are able to obtain intact fetal cadavers, then we can make it part of the budget that any dissections are this, and splitting the specimens into different shipments is this. I mean, it's all just a matter of line items.
Oh, just all a matter of line items, Dana, and you had some pretty strong reactions.
I'm sickened, but I'm sickened by it, by the substance of it, and I also think that Senator Warren should be called out for something. Senator Joni Ernst is the first woman to be elected from the state of Iowa. She is the one who has led this legislative effort. She is a mother, a grandmother, somebody who fought for this country and has dedicated her life to public service. It is unconscionable for me, for both Warren and Hillary Clinton to dismiss this as some sort of Republican war on women when it's actually a legislative effort being led by a woman, and it doesn't take away any cent of women's health care funding. It actually takes it out of Planned Parenthood and into healthcare community centers, as they've done successfully in other states like New Jersey. So I think that I think she owes Senator Joni Ernst an apology.
Absolutely. All right. So, Eric, what do you think?
So, Heritage has a website called the Daily Signal. It's fantastic. They put out a thing today that showed that there are 9,000 federally qualified health centers in America, providing services to 21 million Americans every year. And guess what? None of them provide abortion services. There are only 700 Planned Parenthood centers. That said, Not any single one of the Planned Parenthood centers offers legitimate mammography services. Meanwhile, there are 8,000 of the 9,000 centers that do. So the straw man argument of if you defund Planned Parenthood specifically, you're depriving women of health services is ridiculous and is shut down. Read that piece. 2 questions. If women knew before they had an abortion that their fetal body parts or tissue, whatever you want to call it, were going to be sold off to a third party, would they all agree to do the abortion? My guess is probably not. And number 2, what kind of society do we live in where baby body parts, babies are more valuable dead than alive to a group like Planned Parenthood? It is disgusting.
Yeah, really. And Juan, you still seem to be confused.
I just, I listen because I'm very sensitive to the idea. I mean, I respect people who oppose abortion, but I just think this is a misguided conversation. It's a political
this conversation
effort.
This actually has nobody has said that they oppose abortion.
No, what Eric just said, for example, was, this is people who are somehow not providing health services for women, and that it can be done just as easily. And then you're going on about
an argument that says if you defund Planned Parenthood, women won't get services other than abortion.
No, I'm saying Planned Parenthood is in areas of the country where there aren't services available. There aren't services available, and you got to remember, this is an old conversation. It's the federal government that uses fetal tissue for scientific research. We fund it. If that's the argument, have that argument. But don't have an argument about abortion unless you just want it for a political issue.
Who at this table said
You said, Dana.
You're trying to conflate the issue because you don't have a leg to stand on.
I got 2.
That's the problem.
Let me just tell you, Dana.
It's true.
You said this is Joni Ernst, who's a woman, a veteran, a wonderful person. I would concur. But don't forget, the other 2 sponsors are Paul and Cruz, both running for president, both using this issue because it has stirred the Republican base.
Unfair.
It's sad because you can't
nothing that you just
embrace
said
the morality
that you're against abortion. Nobody is saying let's repeal Roe v. Wade in this legislation. It's specific to Planned Parenthood, and it doesn't take a dime away from women's health funding at the federal level.
I think that what you have is people, especially people who are against abortion, who have had, and they say this, a long-term goal of getting rid of Planned Parenthood. They just hate on Planned Parenthood.
Nope.
You know what? Because
nobody's trying to get rid of Planned Parenthood. They're talking about defunding from federal monies to support it, but it can be privatized.
There is no federal money for paying for abortions. It's the Hyde Amendment.
So you say, but you're not even aware of the facts, the circumstances, what's happening here, because you fail to acknowledge what's going on, that they are actually selling fetal body parts, not fetal tissue. You're not understanding what's happening here because you don't want to admit it. Greg.
This is all about one simple exercise, disguising evil as in euphemism. For example, if you listen to somebody like Barbara Boxer, when they call it fetal research, they aren't calling it what it is. Imagine if you were to experiment on the bodies of death row dwellers. Would you be able to call that inmate research? I don't think so. You would have everybody after you, every lawyer. When the argument for fetal tissue begins with, or it ends with the consequence, it's a shame to let it go to waste. You are then making a moral case against abortion because in order to let something go to waste, you already consider it valuable. You can't let something go to waste if it's waste. So when you decide that fetal research is important, that means that you, in your soul, admit that it is of value. Yep. It is of value. It is important. If it has a beating heart and you're using that tissue, it is not a waste. Now, this is not actually about defunding. It's important to approach the immoral subject and win it as a moral case in the town square. I don't care about the defunding. Right. I care about getting Planned Parenthood and getting the supporters into a town hall and actually debating this and framing this as you would frame slavery. Because what you're doing is you're defending people who cannot defend themselves. You could argue, because there is a beating heart and there is a DNA, that these are living creatures who don't have a voice. It's worse than slavery. This is something that if you wanted to fight a war over, you could. Because it has every bit as the emotional value and the factual, biological value that you're dealing with. Again, unless you view unborn children as recycling, it's not waste. It's actually real.
So when a woman says that she wants to have an abortion, you would say?
I would say there's nothing I can do about it.
Oh, okay.
However, what I can say is, You do not have the right to decide whether or not the heart or the liver goes anywhere, just to appease your guilt and to make the decision
because
better.
Eric was saying earlier that the woman doesn't even say, oh, you know what, given I'm having an abortion, I would like this tissue to be used for some good purpose.
Who have abortions, if they were told
apparently
that
not,
their tissue
because
was
guess
good,
what?
the baby's tissue is going to be used.
They sign and say we would like something to
Signing
come
is
of this.
different than actually seeing a
Okay,
heartbeat.
we're going to have a
Guys, did you hear what Greg Gutfeld said? And this is what they try to do, and this is what they accomplish very readily. He said, if you wanted to start a war over something like this, you could. And that's exactly what they want to do. Like they don't want to inform you. They want to inflame you. They want to get the simple folks so angry. And wait till you see how angry Dana Perino gets in the next clip, because I tell you, this is round 2. And once again, notice how Juan William is the voice of reason. So, Judy, hit it.
So let me get this straight. Last week, Hillary Clinton said that the videos of Planned Parenthood were disturbing. And now she turns around and cuts an ad that says we need to support the organization whose behavior in the videos is disturbing. How does that make sense?
Can I throw something in here real quick? Dana called it last week. When Hillary Clinton came out and said she came out and she surprised a lot of Democrats by having that stance last week on Planned Parenthood, and they're going to have to do a lot of cleaning up. She's cleaning up her own
Cleaning it up
mess.
for them, right? But now, for Hillary, she always gets to have it both ways. Right, so she's
on both sides.
Like it doesn't the Keystone debate, the Iran or pulling troops out of Iraq. She's for it. She's not. Like whatever. She gets to be everywhere. And on this one, I appreciated somebody like Senator Manchin today of West Virginia, a Democrat who came out on Neil Cavuto's show at 4 o'clock and said he had made a decision. He was going to vote to defund. I actually think that defunding is just a first step. I actually think that I agree with Hillary Clinton of last week, where she said that this practice of selling aborted baby parts has to be looked at across the board, not just at Planned Parenthood.
And they're going to need a lot of Democrat votes in order to reach the 60 that they're going to have to overcome the filibuster, because you know the Democrats are going to filibuster this. I mean, does this make sense? I mean, they pass it maybe over these objections of Democrats, and then Obama vetoes it. You got to have a Republican president and a Republican House and Senate to ever defund Planned Parenthood, correct?
I'll just jump in on that. There's 54 Republican senators.
That's what
54.
I think, yeah.
Manchin, like 55 votes.
Yeah.
You ain't getting much past that.
That's it.
That's probably about where you're going to get. So this is more of a statement than an actual defunding.
And an important statement.
But guess what? It
Yeah.
matters.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
Okay, so it's an important statement for people who oppose abortion rights in this country. And guess what?
No.
It's an
My
important
God,
statement
wrong.
for Republicans who have sought to politicize it. And that's so
Wrong
let me just say,
One
all
more.
the
Come on,
Republicans
you got one
running
more.
for president, they went back to Washington because they want to cast
They're
this
not
vote.
voting on Roe v. Wade. They're voting. They're
you know
voting
what?
on defunding a company, a organization that sells body parts.
Oh, stop
That's
with this
far
body
different
part.
from
Let me just say,
abortion.
what you're talking about is fetal tissue, and if you want to have a discussion about abortion, okay, I'm sensitive to this because I think people who oppose abortion have every right to do so. But if you're talking about fetal tissue and research that leads to
I know, but this is how you are.
Were you disturbed by the videos? Were you
Sure,
disturbed?
I'm disturbed when people talk
So you're
about
disturbed
cutting me
by the
open or
videos.
cracking my chest to do heart surgery. I don't like frogs being cut up. No. So I'm
It's
just
not a
telling
frog, it's a human life.
I'm telling you,
It's a
what,
baby.
a woman having an abortion is a difficult subject for us all, Jesse. There's no question. But this is about an attack, a political attack on Planned Parenthood.
No, it's
and
not.
as Cecily Richards just says, it's an attack on health care for women in this country.
It's actually not an attack on health care at all, because, you know, you can do whatever you need to do without Planned Parenthood. Now, Kimberly, this is obviously hyper-partisan. Juan's not recognizing the reality of what was going on in the videos. If
He's
he
the
was,
one that's
he'd be
making
disturbed.
it partisan.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Oh,
want...
yeah.
No, because you're the one referring it to it in terms that you can deal with, that are manageable, like, oh, fetal tissue. They didn't just make these in a lab, in a little petri dish. These are babies. These are lives. These are bodies that have been cut up because it was convenient and then profited on by people selling it.
Let me ask you, are we talking about abortion or are we talking about the research?
And I'm talking, you want to talk about the research.
To have an abortion.
You want to
and
talk about the
question is
research.
what happens to the tissue?
And the research can be done in a way without selling baby parts.
Yes, it is, Juan. In
Abortion's illegal illegal
In
now?
1993, they signed a law to make it illegal to harvest, buy, and
Nobody's
sell
doing
for
that.
profit these
Nobody's
body
doing that.
parts.
That's what
and
the video
tissues
shows.
and
No,
organs.
no.
The video
Yes, they're
doesn't
doing.
show.
That's
The video,
exactly what they're
the
doing.
video
Did not
doesn't
show
show
that.
normal abortions, and
my
that's the
gosh.
end of the story. The video
yeah.
shows Planned Parenthood operatives making deals for baby body parts, and where
This
it
is a
becomes illegal.
horrific fantasy that you have. If they had shown anything illegal, the people who
seriously,
oppose
something's
abortion rights
really
in this country
wrong.
would
You got to
use
go
it.
get a checkup
Juan,
or
it's
something.
obviously
because
illegal.
you're
That's why
confused.
Planned Parenthood tried to get these videos thrown out by a judge who's an
Exactly.
Obama
If it was
butler, by the
illegal,
way.
Jesse,
It's
go get
obviously
'em.
illegal.
Take them to court.
That's
It's
what,
obviously
actually,
illegal.
Juan, actually, that's what Hillary Clinton suggested. She said that all these practices should be looked at.
Sure, if it's illegal,
But
go.
that's what she said.
It's
There
not
should be an
illegal.
investigation.
Right, you're
Can
to
I
the
make
left of Hillary. We actually have
Can
to
I
go to
make
commercial.
Now you guys see why people like Marty get so worked up. I mean, it's intentional. They're trying, they've got an agenda. And they want to trick the simple folk. It's that simple. And, you know, they take advantage of their emotions. And you guys witness it. And, you know, we're going to show you a still now. And this is on exactly what Planned Parenthood does. Now, Senator John Kyle claimed this month on the Senate floor that Planned Parenthood, 90% of what Planned Parenthood did was abortions. But guys, of course, it's not true. So Judy, can you bring up still number 10, please? All right, guys, if you look at that chart, you'll notice on the left-hand side, the largest thing that Planned Parenthood does is sexually transmitted, they check for STDs. The other thing that they equally do as much as contraceptive, 35%. Other services, but guys, look to the right of that. Abortion services, 3%. Other women's health services, 10%. And cancer screening and prevention, 16%. But if you watch Fox News and if you listen to the Republican Party, they're going to tell you that 90% of what Planned Parenthood does is abortions. And you could see it's wrong. And you could see the data right there. Now, we're going to go to the next clip, Judy. And the next clip will be number 11. And there we go. Guys, you know, when I called up Marty and I asked Marty, if you can come back and forth to me, Judy, when I asked Marty, you know, what his sources were, you know, we explained that in the beginning, how he made a complete buffoon out of himself. But guys, here are the fake IDs that anti-abortion activists use to film Planned Parenthood. And the anti-abortion activists who gained access to highly sensitive areas of Planned Parenthood clinics and other related organizations over the past 3 years are facing at least 2 lawsuits after they allegedly used fake identification cards and created a fake company in order to film their targets without consent. Planned Parenthood and the National Abortion Federation claim that David Daleidine, the founder of the Center of Medical Progress, used a fake ID displaying the name Robert Dacoud Sarkis to circumvent their security precautions and gain access to the group's annual meetings and facilities. So guys, look at what they're doing. They can't even be honest. They have to change their ID. And Judy, let's have still number 12. And this is what they did, guys, and here's the proof. And this is what we love to do on this show. Who's telling? There's the altered licenses. So, Judy, come back to me. So, guys, you see what they go through. You see how they have to do this. And why? Because the Republican Party and the conservatives are nuts. And in order to get anybody to vote for them, they have to gin up the fear and the hate. All right. Now we're going to leave this topic now, and we're going to go to part 2, where I have fun making fun of Dave Straight, Marty's buddy. And guys, the first clip we're going to show you is with President Obama and what he has to say about the Iran deal. So, Judy, let's have number 13.
I recognize that resorting to force may be tempting in the face of the rhetoric and behavior that emanates from parts of Iran. It is offensive. It is incendiary. We do take it seriously. But superpowers should not act impulsively in response to taunts or even provocations that can be addressed short of war. Just because Iranian hardliners chant death to America does not mean that that's what all Iranians believe. In fact, it's those hardliners who are most comfortable with the status quo. It's those hardliners chanting death to America who've been most opposed to the deal. They're making common cause with the Republican caucus. The majority of the Iranian people have powerful incentives to urge their government to move in a different, less provocative direction. Incentives that are strengthened by this deal. We should offer them that chance. We should give them that opportunity. It's not guaranteed to succeed. But if they take it, that would be good for Iran, it would be good for the United States, it would be good for a region that has known too much conflict, it would be good for the world. And if Iran does not move in that direction, if Iran violates this deal, we will have ample ability to respond.
Guys, diplomacy works, and it doesn't, it's not going to cost us anything. Now, we want to show you what the president was talking about, where Fox and some of the other news organizations show the hate. So, Judy, let's have the hate.
There are doubts all around a U.S. nuclear deal with Iran, starting with that country's supreme leader who must sign off on any agreement. At a speech over the weekend in front of a crowd chanting death to America, Iran's Ayatollah Khamenei agreed, condemning the economic sanctions on his people. Yes, death to America, Khamenei told the audience, because America is the original source of this pressure. All the more reason, the White House says, to strike a deal.
Guys, those were the haters. Now we're going to show you the lovers, the Iranian people dancing in the street because their 30-year nightmare is about to be over. Judy, so let's hit it and let's run the credits. And
if you want to know how Iranians feel about this deal, look. If you want to know how Iranians feel about this deal, look no further than the streets of Tehran. There, the answer seems clear. Their celebrations continued late into the night.
This was the best thing that could happen. We are happy.
I was very happy when I heard this news. Many things will definitely improve. Relations between Iran and Europe and other countries will greatly improve, and the pressure on the people will ease a little.
And they weren't just celebrating on the streets, but on social media as well, despite sites like Twitter being officially banned. This map shows hashtags like